Hello, 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 hello. Good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everywhere you're watching us from in the world. We want to say welcome to our next online class. For those who have registered for our GRACOTECH Initiative program, we trust you are going through the materials given to you. I trust you are practicing and you have learned a lot. Okay. Today, moving from our last class, this class is basically for beginners. Okay, we're going to help you familiarize us, get familiarized with our Visual Basic application. We are going to design our first program u- using our tools, and we are going to learn how to program, how to code those items to work in such a way that we meet the users, and also help the user to achieve his results. Okay, quickly, this morning I would like to show you something which was done, and it was compiled. So this application can work on the system which without launching our Visual Basic programming application. Now I'm going to show you how it works, and we are going to design it from the scratch. It's very and very easy to work with. So I want you to pay attention, look into your screen, and put every other thing you're doing aside. Don't write, just look at what we're gonna do. Okay, now we're going to take this off. So all you need to do is just come to the last part and press down your cancel key. Then let's write in a name to test our application. So I'm gonna write welcome back. So I'm gonna write Mr. Perfect, Mr. Perfect, and we're going to look at what is gonna happen. And now looking at our application here, we have about three command box, which was designed differently to perform different actions and give us a different result. So I want you to put everything you're doing aside. Make sure you're looking into your screen and try not to get distracted, because this side of our program is very important. So the print is going to do something different, and the message box command box is going to do something different, and our close command box is going to do something different. So I want you to pay attention, because we are both going to create and design and code it exactly to work the way this is working. Now look at this. I'm gonna press this down. I want you to look at the screen. When I click on my print command box, can you see it's actually printed Mr. Perfect on the form? If I press it again, can you see the more I press it, the more it prints it on the screen? Now let's see the difference between the print command box button and the message box command button. Now, have you ever come across a situation? Okay, for instance, you're playing your game, then a box. Imagine you catch a gold, then a box pops up, and you have to press OK to continue your game. That's an example of our message box. So look at this. If I once I click on my message box, it pops up a box. That's why we call it a message box. A box with a message, which is exactly what we wrote into our text box. Now you have to press OK to continue. If you press it again, the same thing. Okay, let's write a different name. Let's say Mr. Let's give it a female name. Let's say Mrs. Clinton. Okay, Clinton. Alright, so you can see Mrs. Clinton. So we have to press the OK to continue. Now, what does the close button help us do? It basically help us to close our program, just like you have the red sign here with a close. So if you click on this, it automatically close our program. Here, now let's get started. If you have your Visual Basic on your system, your laptop, your monitor, now I want you to launch your Visual Basic application. If you have done that, the next thing you need to do is to increase the form to the size you want it to be. Yes, so this is perfect for me. Okay, have you done that? The next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna break it down into steps, and I want you to follow me step by step. So the first thing we're gonna do is that we are going to pick our label as step 1. Pick the label, click on the label tool, come down to your screen, and start from somewhere and drag it to the point you want it to be. So I love this here. Under step 1, the next thing we're going to do is that we need to design our header to look exactly as the example we saw. So you need to come down to your properties windows, which is at the far right of the screen, where you have your caption and every other property. So under caption, we are going to change the name from label 1. We're going to change it to name collector application. Name collection application. After doing that, you will need to come down to alignments and click on this button to change it to center. Next, we need to come down to where we have our fonts. You scroll down to fonts, then you click on the button beside, which helps us to change the thickness of our letters and also help us increase the size. After doing that, you can press OK. Does this look good on your screen? If no, try it again. If yes, we can move on. The next thing I would like us to do is to change the font color, which is after our fonts, the font color. I want you to change it to a light, which will give us a blue color. If you have done that, we can move on. If it doesn't look like this, try it again. Step 2. We'll pick again our label and draw it from the beginning of this point to quarter of it. Then we come down to our caption and change the name from label to name. After doing that, we will need to make it bolder and bigger, so we go down to our fonts we'll go down to our fonts and change the size to bold. Then we can also pick 23. Okay, then we go back to alignment, which is the first items on our properties windows, and change it to center. We can also do something unique by going to our back color, which is our background. Click on this. We can change this to blue. Then we can as well change the color of our fonts. Let's pick changes to white so it will look unique. So our font color, we change it to inactive border. I think this is unique. Okay, next we are going to pick our text box. Then draw our text box from this point to the end of the header. Then we go ahead and we go for any time you use text box. If you want to change what is written inside, you have to go to the text. Okay, so you look for where we have T and text. I can see it's having text 1. So this point we can change this to type into the box. This is unique. We can make it bolder as well in such that anything you're typing into it will reflect the same thickness and the same size. So we come down to fonts, change it to bold, and increase the size to 23. I believe this is step 2 is quite simple to do. So if you have not done it or it doesn't look like this, try again. But if it looks so much like this, we're good to go ahead. Step 3. The next we're going to do is to insert our first command box, which we can place it under here. Our first command box will represent our print, which can change all the caption. Now remove the command 1 and type your print. Let's make it bigger and bold. So here we can pick 18. Good. Then we will need to program our first button, which is the print. So in order for we to code this command button to carry out an instruction, we need to double click on print. Then things you should note from our coding area is that don't just leave this header and end sub. Okay, the codes you are meant to write should be in between these two, the header and the end sub. So this enable your commands to be executed within the button command 1. Okay, now the question is, what should be our first line of code? What should be our first line of code? Before we code anything, let's go back to our form. In order to go back to your form, you just need to click the view object, or if you want to go back to the code area, you click view code. So let's go back to view objects. Now, under view objects, the text box, click on it, and now the name here says what? Text 1, right? Text 1. Now, text 1, I want us to change the name. Let's change it to name box. Let's change it to name box. Is that clear? Name box. After doing that, let's go back to our code area. Okay? Now, the first thing we need to do is to declare our name box to receive both numbers and combinations of alphabets. How do we do that? We give it a data type, and the data type we're going to give it is string data type. If you have been to our classes, we have discussed about how to convert a variable to a particular data. So, the first thing we're going to do is to declare it as dim. So write dim we pick the name of the box, which is the name box, so we say dim name box as strings. Now, strings will help us. This is the name of the variable given, and this is the name of the data type. So this type of data type can take number and save it as text. For instance, if we say 1 2 3 4, this line of code will take the value as a text, as a normal text. But if we say integer, then the value will be seen as a number. So because we might want to write names, we might want to write numbers, let's store it as string. Now, what is our next line of code? Where we say name box, name box equal to name box dot text. Now, this line of code will take anything typed into the box and store it into name box. Remember, name box have been converted to strings, whereby it can take both numbers and alphabet. The next thing we're going to do is to print it. What's the code to print? Very simple. Our Visual Basic has helped us to be able to type in our common language and to understand. So we type print name box. So what happens here is that anything we type into name box, it will print it out. Now let's try to see if this first command box will work. How do you do that? You come to run, click, and click on start. Now let's take this off and let's type a name. I would like to type Mr. Perfect. Let's try if our command box will work. Let's try if the command button will work. How do we do that? We click on it. Okay, an error pops up. So we need to go back to our code to confirm what happened. Okay. Okay. I have to change what is here to text1.text. Now let's see if it will work. Anytime such happens, we need to go back to our code. Let's see what happened. So it says invalid identifier. Okay. So let's make a correction here. So let me stop it and okay. So here's what happened. For it to work, what I did was that I removed the declaration. Okay, it's not needed for it to work. So we have our name box.text equal to name box.text. We have name box because we changed the text box. We changed the name to name box because we want it to accept box. And if any programmer should see the line of code, should understand what we did. Now let's execute it to see if it will work. Now I'm going to type again Mr. Perfect, and let's see what will happen. Now this is it. Can you see? The more I click on print, it prints it on the screen. So remember, I remove the declaration and type it as namebox.text equal to namebox.text and print namebox. So anything we type into namebox.text, it prints it into namebox and sends it to the screen. If it looks like this, we may continue. But if it looks different, you may try again. Step 4. The next thing we're going to do is to pick our command box again and draw it from here, almost the same size as the previous. Okay, then we go to our caption and change the name to message box. Then we can as well come down to fonts and change the size and make it bold. So bold and 18. Good. Then in order to code this message box, we again double click on message box. You see, message box brings up a new work area and you can see it as command 2 click. That's our second command box. Whatsoever you want the message box to do, you type it in between the private sub command 2 underscore click and end sub. So what I will do is to write what we have here as name box equal to name box dot text. Our second line of code we say, because we want to print it as a message box, we say message box, make sure it has this abbreviated MSG as message and box. Message box, then we type in the name box, name box. Now let's see if this will work. We click on run, start, and let's type a name as Mr. Perfect. Then let's click on our message box button to see what will happen. Correct, we have Mr. Perfect. Each time you click on message box, it brings up a message box and give you exactly what you typed into the box. So let's type in numbers. Can you see? Now these are the two types of prints. It's either you print on the screen or you print it as a pop-up and as a message box. So finally, let's go to the last step, which is step 5. Now we will pick our command box and draw it to the size we want it to be. Again, we come down to our caption and change command 3 to close. Then we can increase the size by coming to fonts and we make it bold and increase the size to 18. Remember that our VB programming accepts our natural English language. So we are going to program the close button in such that when pressed, we close our program. In order to do this, we double click on the button and we just write end. Let's run the program to see if our program is working perfectly or not. So I'm going to take this out and write a name, Mr. Perfect. Let's try the print button and see if it's working. And let's try the message box if it's also working. They are all working perfectly. Now, let's see if the close button will close our program. This brings us to the end of this section. You can try this over and over again until you are familiar with the lines of codes and you are able to design different graphical user interface. If it works as perfectly, you may save your program. If it doesn't, you can try again. Welcome once again to GRACOTECH Initiative. Make sure you practice because only practice can make you become perfect. See you next time.